I have a new epoxy resin to test for you today. It's called Epodex, and this is a 2-to-1 ratio resin that's for pros and has a really fantastic shine and performance to make this geode. Stay tuned. Hello again, everybody. It's Janet here for Moonkusser Art. We'll be using a new resin today. This is called Epodex, and it is a 2-to-1 ratio ultra clear resin, perfect for casting and for art. Here are some of the supplies I'll be using in creating a geode piece. So let's get started. I'm using an Ampersand Encausticbord today. I've spray painted it white. I've drawn on some patterns, and I also have the sides taped off with painter's tape. I like to bring it right up to the top, and it works great. Burnish it down, and I don't get any drips underneath the edge. Next, we're going to apply a tape dam around the top. You can see it's up about 1/2 inch, and that works well. I penciled in lines on the surface of my artboard. Now I'm using Pebio's Cern Relief in a gold color, and I like to use that. I'm putting it on top of the lines that I've drawn. It takes about an hour for it to completely dry, and this is going to work as a border to hold my colors separate from one another. All right, now it's ready to start mixing up our Epodex resin. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, so I'll be using 1 part hardener and 2 parts of the resin. I'm going to mix this very carefully. I'm doing a small quantity for this part of my project. So I'm measuring in these really great, they're kind of like a medicine measuring cup, nice and small. They have accurate lines on them. So first I'll measure out my hardener and be really careful with getting it to the amount that I want. It is crystal clear and pours so nicely from the jar. All right, and again, because this is a 2-to-1 ratio, I measured 5 millimeters of the hardener. Now I'm measuring 10 millimeters of the resin, and that's going to be my 2-to-1 ratio. So anytime it's a 2-to-1, you're going to have 1 part hardener, 2 parts resin, and this can be done by weight or volume. Now I'm combining the 2 parts, and I'm going to mix for 3 minutes to make sure that it's fully incorporated with one another. I am coloring the resin gold. I'm using Artisue Metallic Gold. It is a paste, so a tiny amount goes a long way, and this is only a tiny amount of resin. So as little as possible is required to get that to be a nice gold color. Because I want a custom gold color, I'm adding Pearl-X Aztec Gold, and I just stir that in and it blends in very nicely. And now I'm going to pour the resin into the silicone mold and let it sit for about 40 minutes. Now I can add the crystals and let those cure in these silicone molds. All right, it's the next day and the resin has cured, and I can just easily pop these crystal points set in the Epodex resin right out of the molds. I'm going to use my Dremel tool to clean up any of the excess resin around the edges, and that will make it easy for me to stand these in place on my board once I start assembling it on that artist panel. So there they are. All right, we're back at the board. The Pebio Cern Relief is dry, and I'm going to be using, this is 4 ounces of the Epodex resin batched up. I'm using an acrylic paint. This is by Jacquard, their Lumiere. I have some acrylic ink from Liquitex, 2 different colors here, and also some paste. This is Color Passion. Everything is listed in the description box on the video. So let's start pouring. So the first color I laid down is very transparent. It's with the Liquitex acrylic inks, and I did a custom color again, combination of the turquoise deep with the sap green. I then started to fill in a borderline around the Pebeo gold, and now I'm adding in some of the Debbie shimmer from Color Passion. And then I'm going to blend that in, and this is going to give me some depth in the details by doing it this way. It's the next day and everything is cured. I'll be making my custom gold color again with the Artisue and the Aztec gold from Pearl-Ex. And now I'm going to put the gold into a paper cup so that I can pinch it and have a really nice pouring spout from that cup so that I can control the resin. Now I'm ready to start filling in the voids. So because the green is now cured, I'm not concerned about the gold bleeding over and getting into the green areas. That is definitely something I didn't want to happen, and it works like a charm for me. And we'll give a quick pass with the heat gun over top of the areas to pop any bubbles that might be in there. Not very many because it is a thin resin. And now I'm going to start adding my crystal clusters that I made up using those silicone molds. Because they have a flat base to them, they are very easy for me to position in these puddles of gold. I can just wiggle that right down, and I know that they are going to be held fast to my artist panel. Okay, the next day I'm going to be adding some of these little glass chips that are colored bright gold. I found them on Amazon. As always, I like to put the links for everything in the description box for looking in there if you're interested. So I'm just dry setting these on top of the puddles that I poured yesterday, and I can push them into their positions, getting those arranged, and adding some to each cluster of the crystals. And then what I'm going to do is I have some more of the resin batched up, and I'm just going to use my popsicle stick and I'm going to drizzle that over top of these stones. That will help hold them in place and also anchor down those crystals. Okay, and now I have some glass glitter here in a cup. I've poured a little bit of clear resin over top of the glass glitter, so it's very sticky now. The resin has been getting very thick, and I'm trying to test to see how this is going to work. So I'm just putting some of the glass glitter onto a popsicle stick, and then I'm using a toothpick, and I am very carefully placing the glass glitter right on the edge where the gold puddle meets the green. I wanted to cover up that lip edge, build a little bit more dimension onto the piece, and I'll be honest with you, this was pretty painstaking. Took me a long time to get this applied, but the resin, because it's a 2-to-1 ratio, it was very forgiving, and it gave me quite a bit of time to work with it. So that's wonderful in this situation. And again, this allowed me to really build up this spot here and make it a little bit of another dimension onto the piece. So I like the result, but boy, did it take a while. All right, we're back at it again the next day. Now this time I'm using some leftovers. This was from the other day. I had that real pretty olive green, a metallic olive green from the Jacquard Lumiere color that I used. And I had some leftovers, so I like to make little puddles. You never know when you're going to use them. And I just made some dots on top of my plastic tabletop and popped them off. So now what I'm doing is I'm placing small puddles of resin, and I'm placing those dark green cured puddles right on top of the resin, making little islands and pushing out the resin from around the sides. So it's just, again, going to add a little bit more interest and detail. It's easy enough to do. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some of the glass glitter right around where it came out from underneath those little puddles that I just set down in here. So it's really going to make them pop against that green background. And again, a little more bling. All right, now we're to the really easy breezy fun part, drawing on the lines. There's no rhyme or reason. I just grabbed some markers that I think are going to look well on this. It highlights and accentuates all the details that have been laid out, and several different pens, Posca, Craftsmart, they all work fantastic. In order to get a great top coat and ensure that I don't have any stones that are going to loosen up, I'm going to do a complete clear coat over the whole surface. And after an hour and a half, I'm going to pull off that tape dam from the sides and let those sides roll over down across the tape. Well, I had to wait a couple of days for some sunshine out in the backyard, but I got that day. Look at how pretty. I am very pleased with the way that the Epodex Epoxy Resin worked. I got some wonderful details. It has high gloss, and man, it really makes these colors pop. I'm very pleased with the look of it. I hope you give their brand a try. I'm going to put a link to their products in the description box. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video and you're looking to see more of what I have, don't forget to sign up and subscribe to Moonkusser Art. We'll see you here next time, and thanks so much for watching.